January 12th, 2021, lesson 73 in A Course in Miracles student workbook, I Will There Be Light. So I wanted to start out with the idea that what gives light must endure burning, okay? So it's really similar to the story of Jesus. When he was reincarnated, he went to hell and then he rose in 3 days, okay? So that illusion or that metaphor can be very similar to how we feel within ourselves. Our energy centers, our chakras, are very similar to our hierarchy of needs, if you want to think about it like that. So our physiological safety, love, and belonging are our root, okay, comes from fear. Our sacral, creativity, approval of ourselves, and then power, which is our solar plexus, our self-esteem. So when we're looking at these, we see that we're always forcing things until we get to a place that we have positive self-esteem. So within ourselves, we have hell and heaven. So why is this important? As we're looking at the lesson for today, we're looking at our stories, okay? Our story to want to be in hell and how we think that the world is unfair to us, our grievances, our real or perceived notions that we are the victims of life, okay? And the question is, do you really want to weep and suffer and die? And that's really what most people think that this whole life is about, rather than seeing the ability to understand love, okay? The willingness to understand what learning and learning about yourself and learning about others entails, okay? So this enduring burning is basically shedding off everything that's not you. Kind of like Michelangelo said about the David, he chipped away the things that weren't the David. So once we start getting into the core of true, healthy self-confidence, or whatever you want to call it, or spirit, now we're understanding how to deal with loneliness, okay? This was a question that I was asking my mentor, David Meltzer, because as I'm going through this new journey, especially as I'm cleaning the energy within myself, is that more people are discerning, right? Are steering away from me, okay? And this is something that I've dealt with pretty much all my life, okay? And I do speak over the heads of people most oftentimes. I taught my first grade class evolution, so it's not anything that I'm not aware of or used to. The only thing is that now I'm not relating to people that used to be there for me. And it's because I'm conditionally giving away, okay? And there is some form of pride that is coming from me because pride was the only way that I could feel confident within myself, okay? When we look at these people that are steering away or they're unfollowing me or whatever it may be, the frequency may steer them away because it's light, okay? Light in myself is synonymous to love. So if I feel like I shouldn't be giving away this light or this love, it's because I'm doing it conditionally, right? I feel like there is some form of harm that may occur to me because if I give it all the way, then people will reject me, or that they won't understand and they'll make fun of me, or that if I don't hold on to something, then I won't make money off of it, if that makes sense. Okay, so that comes from the need and want to be safe, secure, or my need for survival within this world. So I asked him, how do you deal with the loneliness and also the pride so you can become humbly confident, okay? And he said that the only way was to give it all away, that we're here to give our lives away, that we're here to be a service of others. And that's what self-transcendence is once again. So once we understand our potentialities and talents, which is self-actualization, understand our true identity, then we become self-transcendent by giving those gifts away, okay? Because he said that when he lost $100 million, or I think plus $150 million, he went to his mom saying that he needed to give away and sell her house. And that's all he wanted to do, was to give her a car and give her a house. And she was so forthcoming, right? So pure of heart and unconditionally loving towards him that she said, can I give you any money? Okay. And that liberated his light, basically, showing unconditional love. And he said that there are 3 things that he teaches his children and also to his students is that I love you, I'm proud of you, and I always have your back. So you can't give what you do not have, okay? And with light, darkness is not the opposite of light, it's the absence of it, okay? With a room, it's not that there is an on or off, it's that it's not connected, okay? It's not connected to the source of energy that's trying to give out. With poverty, okay, it's not the opposite of wealth, it's the absence of wealth. It's the absence of that mindset. It is like hate is the absence of love, okay? So when we understand what light is, we see it lights in a dark room, and it could be given towards other lights, right? Other candles, and light them up, and that's how you light up the world. Why is this important? Because when we do this conditionally, when we do it judgmentally, we're holding back. We're holding back on ourselves, and we're not allowing ourselves to unconditionally love. And when we know we can unconditionally give, that means that we know that we have loved. We know that we are loving. Allowing ourselves to be proud is allowing ourselves to be humble, right? Being able to give it all away, right? Just like our parents would with ourselves or somebody that loved us. And the ability to have our backs for ourselves is being self-worthy. And that's something that we all lack within ourselves. And that's what I struggle with as well myself, especially as I'm giving out this new form of teaching, because I don't feel like it's worthy enough to be praised by others. I feel like I need to consolidate or some form of tailoring to others so I can reach the right audience. But again, if I'm sure of myself and love myself unconditionally, then it doesn't matter how I'm giving this information out, because the most important thing is that we give it and then we will it. Okay, we will the light that we're giving out, because will is our ability to give. Okay, because it's like being able to love in the hardest times. It is being able to survive when it's most difficult. Our will is our light. Our will is the will of God. Our will is love. So when it's conditional, we have to look within ourselves and see, why is this so difficult for me? And it's because of the disapproving. Okay, so I just had this with a student, and he just texted to me. And I asked him, why do you continue wanting to feel like shit? Why do you choose to feel like shit? And he said that he's been asking himself that question for the last 3 months. And I told himself, can't you see that you've been looking at a file cabinet without any files, that it's empty? You're looking at your mind, asking for the answer when it doesn't have the answer. Can't you see that if it had the answer, then it would have given it to you a while back? Okay? And that's a disapproval of ourselves. And that means that there's the absence, and that is equivalent to the amounts of self-love that we do not give ourselves. So once we stop disapproving, we start taking back our power. We start allowing ourselves to love ourselves, to approve ourselves, and to give it more and more and more. Because once we understand that we're the ones that have created this whole spin, this whole story, that we are the victims, that we're never going to find love, or that we're always going to be lonely, or that we're never going to amount to anything within the world, that is the grievances that the ego has created to suffice ourselves within the world, to just move within ourselves. And this is not heaven. This is not heaven on earth. Even if you're working at lust, anger, and pride, as we learn that the apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, and pride are very similar to our 7 sins, which is greed, hate, envy, lust, gluttony, sloth, and pride, then we see how we've charged those with so much energy. And it becomes this ego mimicry, as my mentor Brian says, which is you've created the identity and it gives you highs, but really once that high is gone, there's a low, and that's really where you need to start working at. Because being positive only works so much until you start feeling the negative emotions and where they're feeding, right? So what is it that they're feeding off? Any of these 7 sins or any of these 6 emotions that are feeding these emotions are feeding the ego. They're feeding this machine that thinks that it's you, okay? It thinks that it's the artificial intelligence that is taking over humankind, and it's not allowing you to actually see the light within yourself and to give that unconditionally. Because the more you do that, the more you do that for yourself.